The rain was coming down in sheets that night in Chicago, November 2025, like the city was being hosed clean. I'm Rachel Morgan, 32, a freelance journalist who just left a book launch party in the Loop. It was past 11 p.m., and the air reeked of wet pavement and the faint tang of diesel from the nearby L trains. My phone was dead after hours of schmoozing with editors and authors, so I was stuck waving for a cab in the glow of neon signs on Wabash Avenue. A beat-up Chevy sedan rolled up, its wipers scraping the windshield with a sound like nails on a chalkboard. The driver, a gaunt guy with a faded trucker hat and eyes that didn't seem to blink, jerked his head for me to get in. His gaze locked onto mine in the rearview mirror, sharp and unnerving. I gave him my address in Logan Square, a cozy apartment near Palmer Street. The car smelled of stale pine air freshener and something damp like old rags. As he pulled into traffic, the radio hissed with static. No music, just a low, droning hum that set my nerves on edge. He didn't say a word at first, just drove through the slick streets, the city's lights smearing into streaks of red and blue across the windows. Then, out of nowhere, he started talking. Ever think how easy it is to get lost in a place like this? His voice was low, almost a whisper, like he was sharing a secret. All these back alleys, empty lots, the river. Someone could just disappear. My gut twisted, but I played it cool, forcing a half smile. "Yeah, I guess," I said, eyes glued to the window. He didn't smile back. "There's spots nobody ever checks," he went on. "Old warehouses by the South Branch, rusted train yards. You could hide anything there, and no one would know." His tone was flat, like he'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. I noticed we'd passed Logan Square, heading south toward the industrial sprawl near the Chicago River. "Hey, you missed my street," I said, keeping my voice steady even as my pulse hammered. He didn't respond. The locks snapped shut with a loud click, like a trap springing. My breath hitched. I tested the door handle quietly locked. His eyes flicked to the mirror, catching me, and a slow, crooked grin spread across his face. "Just a shortcut," he said, but his voice was all wrong, too calm. The city faded behind us, replaced by dark, narrow roads lined with crumbling brick buildings and chain-link fences. The rain pounded the roof, drowning out everything but the engine's growl and my racing heartbeat. I'm not one to panic. I've done investigative pieces in rough neighborhoods, camped alone in the Upper Peninsula. I wasn't about to let fear win. I slipped my hand into my coat pocket, feeling for anything useful. My apartment keys were there, jagged and solid. I gripped them tight, my mind spinning through escape plans. The car slowed near a deserted lot by the river, surrounded by stacks of rusted shipping containers that loomed like tombstones in the storm. He stopped, engine idling, and reached into the glove box. My stomach dropped as he pulled out a roll of duct tape, the kind you'd use to tie someone up. "You're gonna stay real quiet," he said, turning to face me, his voice cold as the rain. His eyes were dead, like looking into a void. I didn't hesitate. I faked a gasp, slumping forward, clutching my chest. "I can't breathe," I wheezed, making my voice shaky. He leaned closer, squinting, and that's when I struck. I swung my fist, keys first, into his arm, the metal biting into him. He yelped, more startled than hurt, and the tape rolled onto the floor. I lunged for the door, clawing at the lock. My fingers slipped on the wet plastic, nails catching, but it clicked open. I kicked the door wide and stumbled out into the rain, the cold slamming into me like a wall. My sneakers skidded on the muddy gravel as I sprinted toward the containers, his voice roaring behind me. "You can't run forever." The words cut through the storm, sharp and poisonous. I knew this area a bit from jogging along the riverfront trail. The lot was a labyrinth, but there was a security booth near the port gate, maybe a mile away. My lungs burned as I darted between containers, their jagged edges snagging my coat. His boots splashed in the mud behind me, too close. I dove into a narrow gap between two containers, pressing myself against the icy metal, holding my breath. His flashlight beam swept past, slow and deliberate, missing me by inches. He was muttering, his voice low and broken, like he was arguing with someone or something else. Minutes dragged on, the rain soaking me to the bone. The light moved away, his footsteps fading. I didn't trust it. I counted to 100, then crept out, sticking to the shadows. My legs screamed, but I pushed forward, weaving through the maze until I saw the dim glow of the security booth. I pounded on the glass, startling the guard. "Help! Someone's chasing me!" I gasped. He yanked the door open, radioing for backup as I collapsed onto a bench, shivering. The guard scanned the lot, but the car was gone, swallowed by the night. The cops showed up, took my statement, but found nothing. No car, no driver, no trace. They figured he used a fake plate. I got home at dawn, still trembling, and now I carry a stun gun everywhere. But every time it rains, his voice creeps into my head, calm and certain, saying I can't run forever. I check my locks twice every night. The rain was hammering down in Detroit, November 2025, turning the streets into rivers of black. I'm Mike Delaney, 42, a cab driver who's been working the night shift for a decade. It was pushing midnight, and the air smelled of wet asphalt and the greasy tang of nearby food trucks. I just dropped off a fare in Midtown when my dispatcher crackled through, sending me to pick up a guy near Cass Corridor. My old Ford Crown Vic groaned as I pulled up to a dimly lit corner, the neon glow of a dive bar flickering in the distance. The passenger slid into the back seat, a lanky guy in a soaked gray hoodie, his face half hidden under the hood. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that glinted like wet glass in the rearview mirror. "Take me to Highland Park," he said, voice low and clipped, giving an address near the old auto plants. The car smelled of rain and something sharp, like metal or sweat, as he settled in. The radio was off, but the silence felt heavy, broken only by the rhythmic thump of the wipers. I'd driven all kinds in this city, drunks, suits, weirdos, but something about this guy set my teeth on edge. He didn't make small talk, just stared out the window as we rolled through the slick streets, the city's lights blurring into smears of red and yellow. I tried to break the ice. "Rough night, huh?" I said, glancing at him in the mirror. His eyes flicked to mine, and a faint smile curled his lips, not friendly, but like he knew something I didn't. "You could say that," he murmured, and his hand slipped into his hoodie pocket. We were halfway to Highland Park when I noticed he was leaning forward too close to the plexiglass divider. His breathing was shallow, deliberate, like he was counting each one. "You ever think about how easy it is to make someone disappear in a city like this?" he said. Out of the blue, his voice soft but sharp, like a blade sliding out of sheath. My hands tightened on the wheel. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, keeping my tone light, but my gut was screaming. He chuckled, low and dry. "All these empty factories, abandoned lots, the river. You could do anything, and no one would blink." His hand was still in his pocket, and I caught a glint of something metallic as he shifted. My heart kicked up a notch. I've had sketchy fares before, but this guy wasn't just talking. He was testing me, like he was sizing up how I'd react. I glanced at the GPS. We were heading toward a dead zone, a stretch of boarded-up buildings and vacant lots. "You missed the turn," he said suddenly, though I hadn't. "Pull over up there." I didn't like it, but I played along, easing the car to the curb near a rusted chain-link fence, the rain drumming on the roof. The street was empty, no cars, no lights, just shadows and the distant hum of the city. He leaned closer, his breath fogging the divider. "You seem like a nice guy, Mike," he said, reading my name off the cab license. Too bad nice guys don't last long out here. That's when I saw it. A knife, thin and wicked, half pulled from his pocket, catching the faint glow of a street lamp. I'm no hero, but I've been around. I've talked down drunks, dodged fists, even stared down a gun once. No way was I letting this creep get the drop on me. I kept my voice steady. Look, man, whatever you're thinking, it's not worth it. He smirked like I'd said something funny and started to open the door. That's when I noticed my dash cam light was off. Had he tampered with it? My mind raced. The locks were manual in this old rig, so I quietly flipped the master switch to keep his door shut. Having trouble breathing? He asked, mocking, as he tugged at the handle. I faked a cough, slumping forward like I was sick, one hand slipping under the seat where I keep a tire iron for emergencies. Yeah, bad night, I rasped, buying time. He laughed, leaning through the divider's window, the knife now fully out, its blade glinting. That's when I moved. I swung the tire iron up, catching his wrist hard. The knife clattered to the floor, and he cursed, scrambling to grab it. I hit the gas, the car lurching forward, tires squealing on the wet pavement. He was thrown back, banging against the seat. "You're dead, man," he shouted, but I wasn't listening. I knew these streets like my own pulse. I weaved through the industrial maze, heading for a 24-hour gas station on Woodward Avenue, its lights a beacon in the storm. My hand shook, but I kept the pedal down, checking the mirror. He was clawing at the divider, his face twisted with rage, but the locks held. I skidded into the gas station lot, slamming the brakes. The clerk inside looked up as I laid on the horn, waving frantically. The guy in the back froze, then bolted out the door the second I unlocked it, vanishing into the rain-soaked alleys. I sat there, heart pounding, as the clerk called the cops. They took my story, checked the cab, found the knife, a nasty switchblade with a notched edge, but no sign of the guy. The dash cam was fried, wires cut clean. They said he might have been a drifter, maybe worse. I don't know. Now I keep a stun gun under the seat, and I don't pick up fares in Cass Corridor anymore. But every rainy night, I see his eyes in the rearview mirror, glinting like he's still there, waiting. I check the locks before every shift. Like, comment, and subscribe for more real and scary stories. Drop your own creepy experiences in the comments. I read them all.